The girl's family was cursed with a dark spell in ancient times. Whenever descendants of their lineage kissed their beloved, they transformed into canine forms. This is why Hae-na has never kissed a man since childhood. Her first lover couldn't endure this and married her best friend. Yet now she's fallen for teacher Bo-chien at her school. During their dinner gathering, Bo-chien revealed his ideal girlfriend criteria. He prefers mutual affection, and girls brave enough to confess first. Just as teacher Seo-won excused himself to answer a call, Bo-chien lent him his coat, fearing he'd catch cold. Emboldened by alcohol, Hae-na resolved to seize love. She approached the phone answering Bo-chien to confess. Hearing this, Bo-chien closed his eyes. Hae-na leaned in and pressed her lips to his. But at this crucial moment, she realized with shock she'd kissed Seo-won. Mistaken identity. Seo-won wore Bo-chien's borrowed coat. Sobering abruptly, Hae-na knew her family's curse would activate any second. If you kiss someone of the opposite sex, you instantly turn into a dog after 1 minute. Now transformed, she clutched her own shoe in her jaws. After countless hardships, she boarded the subway home. Her family recognized this dog as Hae-na. Fortunately, the dog transformation only lasted from midnight to 6 a.m. But this condition would persist for 100 days. If after 100 days, the curse remains unbroken, Hae-na would stay a dog forever. Morning came and Hae-na regained human form. She knew she was doomed. She'd kissed Seo-won, the most unapproachable guy in school. Seo-won was the campus heartthrob. His striking looks captivated every girl in class. Yet he treated Hae-na with icy indifference. When she showed concern about his scalded hand, Seo-won completely ignored her. Hae-na had overheard him saying he felt uncomfortable around her. To break the canine curse, she must receive another kiss from the same person, while in her canine form. Only then would the curse lift. Thus Hae-na devised a plan. She apologized to Seo-won for last night's incident. Still needed to invite him for dinner and drinks. But Seo-won insisted it was unnecessary. Hae-na felt utterly helpless. While leaving work, Hae-na spotted her uncle. Due to the unbroken curse, he remained bedridden in dog form. Her family refused to let Hae-na suffer the same fate. They urged Hae-na to shamelessly invite Seo-won to dine. Next day, Hae-na zealously tidied Seo-won's desk, casually suggesting, "How about grilled meat and soju?" Yet Seo-won responded with frosty indifference. Undeterred, Hae-na gifted him hand cream. But Seo-won maintained his aloof demeanor. During Seo-won's class, Hae-na brazenly hinted about drinking again. Reluctantly, Seo-won finally agreed. Their family's scheme achieved initial success. Next step, get Seo-won drunk at dinner. Then at midnight, Hae-na would transform into a dog, simply requiring her to kiss him proactively. Both now wore tipsy expressions. The clock struck 11:55 分. Hae-na hurried out to the deserted alley, then called Seo-won to come to the alley. At the stroke of midnight, Hae-na transformed into a puppy. Seo-won arrived at the designated spot. He saw Hae-na in her canine form. Hae-na approached him. Seo-won scooped up the adorable puppy and planted a kiss on its head. But this was merely Hae-na's imagination. The reality unfolded differently. When Seo-won saw the dog charging toward him, he appeared visibly startled. A single bark made Seo-won collapse in terror. As Hae-na stood bewildered, this monstrous vision filled Seo-won's eyes. Watching the dog closing in, Seo-won clambered onto a dumpster in panic. Hae-na finally realized his crippling xenophobia. Witnessing his mortal terror, her curse-breaking plan lay in ruins. That night she tried to replay the scenario, but Seo-won rebuffed her. Not out of antipathy toward Hae-na, but because of her peculiar trait, being a walking magnet for canines. And Seo-won was also afraid of dogs. This made Hae-na misunderstand that Seo-won disliked her. But her family explained the situation to her. Hae-na finally understood that Seo-won had mysteriously vanished when they were together before. It was the dogs she summoned that scared Seo-won away. Now she warns dogs to stay away whenever she sees them. Meanwhile, when she came to school for class, female students told her about delinquents from another school smoking, and urged Hae-na to stop them. Truthfully, Hae-na was also scared seeing them. But as a teacher, she must lead by example. However, these delinquents weren't afraid of female teacher Hae-na at all. They called Hae-na auntie and told her not to make trouble. Hae-na gathered courage to ask their names and checked the name tags on their uniforms. But the delinquents accused her of groping and harassment, saying for fairness they should grope her back. Just then a pair of hands stopped his action. It was Seo-won saving Hae-na. These delinquents even dared to fight back against Seo-won, subdued instantly by Seo-won's formidable martial arts prowess. He forced them to reveal their names. When they refused to speak, student Seo-won stepped forward and pointed them out one by one. But retaliation struck swiftly. When Seo-won came to the store to make purchases, the gang of delinquent students spotted him. That night as Hae-na was sleeping, she received a call from the police station. Though Seo-won remained unharmed, the delinquents across from him were bloodied and bruised. Hae-na retrieved Seo-won from the police station, but froze in shock. It was nearly midnight, her canine transformation imminent. She hastily distanced herself from Seo-won to call her family. Yet Seo-won persistently pursued her, startling her into dropping her phone into a ditch. Desperate to prevent her student from witnessing the transformation, Hae-na abandoned her phone. But Seo-won retrieved the device and continued following. Thus unfolded the surreal scene. Hae-na transforming into a dog before Seo-won's eyes. The boy witnessed it firsthand. The shock made him collapse instantly. Canine Hae-na anxiously performed chest compressions on her student, slipping away when he regained consciousness. Seo-won retrieved the runaway dog. Muttering to himself, how did the teacher turn into a dog? He found it utterly unbelievable. But seeing the teacher's left behind belongings forced him to confront reality. Just as he stood at a loss, Seo-won took it home. Witnessing his teacher's first visit to his residence, Seo-won even brewed tea for the educator, attempting to contact the teacher's family members, but found the password-locked phone rendered efforts futile. However, at this moment, Hae-na the dog pawed open the phone's lock screen. Seo-won, still skeptical, finally conceded to irrefutable proof. At night, Hae-na waited until Seo-won fell asleep, attempting to sneak out through the door. Discovered her stubby canine legs couldn't escape. Forced to wait until 6 a.m. for human form liberation. Thus morning unveiled this scene. Hae-na materialized completely nude, suddenly realizing another presence in the house. She frantically scooped up clothes to dress, unaware Seo-won had always lived with his uncle. That uncle being Seo-won. As Seo-won opened Seo-won's door, he stumbled upon this tableau. This made Hae-na extremely flustered. Seo-won thought something had happened between them, but Hae-na explained it was because Seo-won went to the police station. So she went to bail him out. But having drunk too much, she was taken home by Seo-won. This explanation cleared up the misunderstanding. But the secret of her turning into a dog was discovered by Seo-won, making her older sister deeply worried. When her sister's dog transformation secret was known by her ex-boyfriend before, they spent a fortune to silence her boyfriend. Therefore, the sister gave Hae-na a dog-shaped pendant for Seo-won, hoping this trinket could help Seo-won overcome his fear of dogs, thus enabling Hae-na to kiss Seo-won sooner while in dog form, to break the canine curse. However, this pendant was taken by Bao-chien, whom Hae-na likes. Meanwhile, Seo-won would face his greatest crisis today. The vice principal actually brought his family dog to school. All teachers adored the furry visitor. But Hae-na grew anxious about the dog's presence, for she knew how terrified Seo-won was of dogs. Seeing this, Hae-na devised a plan. She deliberately coughed and said to the vice principal that she was allergic to dog fur. But the vice principal dismissed her concern and told her to just take allergy meds. Then he wondered why Seo-won was lingering outside the door. The dog-fearing Seo-won claimed he'd left something in the car and needed to retrieve it. The vice principal seized the chance to have Seo-won bring the dog food along. Now Seo-won returned with the dog food. Staring at the dog inside, he dared not enter. The vice principal then unexpectedly asked him to help feed the dog. With the dog blocking the front, he had no choice but to enter through the back door. He moved with extreme caution inside, handling the dog bowl as gently as fragile china. But the clatter of pouring kibble echoed thunderously. The sound sent the dog charging towards him. At this critical moment, Hae-na appeared and shoved him aside. The push carried more force than necessary, but it spared him the humiliation of dog-induced panic. Later, Hae-na sought out Seo-won to bribe him. Make sure he doesn't reveal anything about turning into a dog. Kind-hearted Seo-won cooperated diligently nonetheless. But Seo-won's crisis remained unresolved. Bao Qian emerged holding the puppy. Upon seeing Seo-won, he immediately set the dog down. The puppy dashed straight toward Seo-won. Seo-won was about to panic and lose face from dog fear. Suddenly a hoop came flying out behind them, luring the dog away. Hae-na had rescued Seo-won yet again. Meanwhile, Hae-na heard colleagues mention the dog was taken by the vice principal. She rushed straight to Seo-won's classroom, announced loudly. Upon hearing the dog was gone, Seo-won, who'd avoided his office all day, finally breathed easy. But after class, colleagues told Hae-na the dog returned. She bolted toward the office in alarm. Seo-won, office avoidant all day, was there munching rice crackers for sustenance. The crispy crunch attracted the dog. The puppy instantly charged toward his station, causing Seo-won's laptop to abruptly power off. As Seo-won bent down to investigate the commotion, the dog unexpectedly appeared right in front of him. His colleague walked in just in time to witness this scene. Fortunately, Hae-na arrived promptly and scooped up the dog. She then asked about the broken Seo-won sprayer on the desk. Is it fixed now? This cleverly dispelled others' misconception about his supposed fear of dogs. Seo-won finally breathed a sigh of relief. His gaze softened noticeably when looking at Hae-na. Truth be told, he'd carried a torch for Hae-na all along. Back then, Hae-na had just started teaching at their school. He'd been smitten from the very first glance. Moreover, Hae-na always carried herself with remarkable poise and grace in public settings. His eyes were always glued to her every move. Occasionally, he'd catch glimpses of her playful interactions with students. A faint smile would sometimes grace his lips. But on this particular day, he discovered Hae-na's heart belonged to his best buddy Bao Qian. This revelation buried his feelings for Hae-na deep within. Yet Hae-na's recent act of rescuing him reignited those suppressed emotions. Truth was, Bao Qian knew about his feelings and had been helping him. When Bao Qian spotted Hae-na at the pastry shop that evening, he immediately called Seo-won, reminding him about the cake errand. So Seo-won ended up encountering Hae-na at the bakery. This created an opportunity for their solo interaction. Seo-won confessed his fear of dogs openly. Hae-na immediately reassured him this was nothing shameful. She had drunkenly kissed him on the mouth last time. Moreover, her drunken self had slept in the student's room for 10 straight hours. Witnessing Hae-na's thoughtful nature, Seo-won's heart instantly plunged into an ocean of affection for her. Hae-na seized the moment to gift Seo-won the dog-shaped pendant. She believed this way Seo-won could gradually overcome his fear of dogs. Afterwards, Seo-won went to meet his best buddy Bao Qian. Little did she know Bao Qian's identity held an earth-shattering secret. He might be someone who has lived for millennia. Meanwhile, at school, Ms. Su and Mr. Wang announced their wedding. All faculty members received crimson wedding invitations. The four of them planned to prepare special gifts. Hae-na and Bao Qian were entrusted with gift shopping. But dark clouds gathered over Seo-won's mood. He pointedly reminded Bao Qian about unfinished test papers awaiting grading. Thus, the task of buying gifts fell upon Seo-won and Hae-na. That evening, Hae-na noticed Seo-won was still carrying the dog-shaped pendant she had given him. This filled her with joy. The two happily went shopping together for the items. Throughout the day, Seo-won would steal glances at Hae-na. Later, they entered a lingerie store. They overheard a couple's flirtatious conversation, creating an awkward atmosphere. Embarrassed, they hurriedly left the store. However, their unintentionally intimate gestures were witnessed by Ms. Kaya, who harbored feelings for Seo-won. This sight darkened her mood considerably. Moreover, she had heard that when attending the wedding, the two of them planned to ride together. Thus she appeared before them both, proposing they all drive together on the wedding day. But Seo-won rejected her suggestion. Hae-na, seeing her desperate pleading, couldn't bear to refuse. But was Hae-na truly sincere? Likely not. Sure enough, the next day Child didn't wait for Hae-na. Instead, Hae-na's close friend Song-ai came in her place. Furious, Chaeol refused to ride in the car either. She couldn't bear to let Seo-won stay with Hae-na. As expected, Seo-won and Hae-na were meeting in secret. Hae-na was dazzled by Seo-won's striking handsomeness. But just then, Seo-won spotted Chaeol searching for them. To keep Chaeol from interrupting them, he snapped open his umbrella to block Chaeol's view. Yet this action drew them dangerously close. Both their hearts raced uncontrollably. Not long after, Hae-na's sister devised a plan to break her curse of being turned into a dog. Why not have her take the initiative to kiss Seo-won? So they asked Seo-won, who knew about Hae-na's curse, for help. That night, they launched their operation. As soon as Seo-won fell asleep, they placed the dog-transformed Hae-na, who turns into a dog at midnight, on Seo-won. But after the kiss, she discovered the kiss didn't revert her to human form. Seo-won tried again, but it proved futile. Meanwhile, they accidentally awakened Seo-won, who feared dogs. Seo-won let out a blood-curdling scream at the sight of the dog. The scream alerted the girl's family. Seo-won's nephew immediately rushed to restrain his uncle. The dog form Hae-na bolted out in panic. At 6 a.m., the moment Hae-na transformed back into a human, she anxiously asked her sister what was going on. Then muttered to herself, maybe by midnight, I won't turn into a dog anymore. But when night fell, her sister discovered Hae-na had still transformed. The next day, the sister learned from their mother that to lift their family's dog transformation curse, they must share a kiss while the other party is fully conscious. The family suggested directly informing Seo-won about the curse. But the sister vehemently opposed this idea. She'd once confided in her boyfriend about her own transformations. Her boyfriend actually wanted to record her at midnight, capturing video evidence of her transforming into a dog, forcing her to hide in the bathroom. But she remained trapped as a dog until 6 a.m. Moreover, she had to spend her entire retirement savings. Only after kissing her boyfriend could the curse be lifted. Her sister furiously warned Hae-na to trust no one, especially with Hae-na's graduation trip approaching, lest the entire school discovers her dog transformation secret. Midnight struck mid-conversation. Hae-na instantly transformed into a dog while munching on fried chicken. The next day, Hae-na approached Seo-won and said she wanted to help him overcome his fear of dogs. Seo-won agreed without hesitation upon hearing this, because he liked Hae-na. This way, he could spend more time with her. But the thought of being around the dogs he feared made him feel dizzy with fear. He couldn't help but feel some regret. However, the next day he started by interacting with a small puppy. He managed to maintain eye contact with the puppy for 5 seconds. Hae-na even praised him for being so impressive. Seo-won couldn't help but feel proud of himself. Just then they encountered a yapping little dog. Hae-na asked Seo-won what the puppy was trying to convey. To Seo-won's eyes, the puppy looked ready to bite him. At that very moment, Hae-na proved her point right. Hae-na once again pointed out what those two puppies were up to. Seo-won insisted those dogs still wanted to bite people. Hae-na educated him, not every barking dog intends to bite. But this time she was mistaken. The dogs were genuinely snarling and snapping. They were sitting on the lawn at that moment. Hae-na praised Seo-won's remarkable improvement today, just as they were laughing and chatting. Seo-won froze in terror as a massive dog came charging toward him. This triggered vivid flashbacks of a childhood horror. Hae-na simultaneously caught the ominous sight. She immediately grabbed the clothes and wrapped them around the two. That day, Seo-won caught a group of students bullying a girl at school. The school bully Jae explained they were filming an anti-bullying video. The other bullies made the bullied Jae-won tell the teacher they were filming. Seo-won wasn't a fool, he could see something was wrong. Seo-won knew Jae-won remained silent out of fear towards these bullies. He asked teacher Yoon from Jae-won's class to confirm if she was being bullied, but was accused by the vice principal of interfering with other classes. Seo-won burned with rage upon hearing this. Since when do such matters have class boundaries? Meanwhile, Hae-na happened to witness Jae-won asking the PE teacher for gymnasium keys, which aroused her suspicion. After school, she overheard these students seemingly lying in wait. The group was waiting for Jae-won. When Jae-won ignored their calls and hid in the gymnasium, They scoured the night-shrouded campus for her. Suddenly, the door swung open, revealing Hae-na and Seo-won. This lifted the weight from Ju-an's shoulders. Back then, Ju-an was often praised for her superior acting skills compared to Jae. Jae had nursed a deep-seated grudge since those days, relentlessly bullying her. She showed no fear of consequences when harassing others. Just say it was filming an anti-bullying awareness video. We thought school teachers would convene a bullying committee after watching this video. But the vice principal said separating the two students would suffice to protect the school's reputation. Seo-won was furious. This approach was utterly useless. For the school's reputation, what about the child's shattered heart? Then why would our Seo-won act this way? He confessed to Hae-na that he too had been bullied as a child. Back then, two girls had invited him to a cyber cafe. If he didn't go, other boys would sneer at him for being scared of dogs. He snapped back whether he feared dogs was none of their damn business. The bully who disliked him threw the first punch, then signaled his cronies to swarm in for the attack. Bystanders witnessed this brutality yet averted their eyes. This emboldened the bullies to pummel him even more unabashedly with fists and kicks. As an adult, he developed a visceral revulsion toward such behavior. The tearful boy was embraced in Hae-na's arms. That same night, Hae-na conceived a brilliant idea. They just needed to obtain the original bullying video from Jae-hee's phone. Operation begins in 5 minutes, sis. At midnight, Jae-hee's cram school session ended. Exactly at 12, Hae-na transformed into a dog. She waited while Jae-hee played with her phone, then dashed over and snatched the phone with her mouth. Therefore the next day, Hae-na presented the original bullying footage to the vice principal. Even so, Jae-hee showed zero remorse in front of Seo-won. Unaware, the school was convening a bullying committee. Thus she received her mother's call. Learning her upcoming movie role had been cancelled. But before leaving, she devised a new revenge against Seo-won, planning to seduce the teacher with her body, framing the male teacher to destroy his reputation. Unknown to her, Hae-na overheard the scheme. At midnight, the bully queen summoned the teacher. The teacher agreed, believing her repentant. Jae-hee's trap, luring teacher Seo-won to the park, then ordered those lackeys to photograph their forced intimacy. Yet the nonchalant manner they discussed the matter. Little did they know, Hae-na, who had been transformed into a dog, both heard and recorded everything. Hae-na got too close and was spotted by the schoolgirl. The schoolgirl picked up the cardboard box and discovered her. The exposed Hae-na immediately bolted away. Later, Hae-na's family saw the footage and were furious. They tried calling Seo-won to warn him not to fall for the trap. Little did they know Zae-shi had already tricked Seo-won into coming over. They had no choice but to take in Seo-won's nephew Seo-yu and head to the park to search for his uncle. They then split up to look for Seo-won. Hae-na, now transformed into a dog, possessed an extraordinarily keen sense of smell. She instantly detected the group of students and discovered the bully students filming Jae and Seo-won. Jae was resting in Seo-won's arms at this moment, confessing she shouldn't have bullied classmates. Jae noticed something wrong with that dog, ordered her lackeys to seize it. Meanwhile, Seo-won spotted this group. The students attempted to flee, only to be nabbed by Seo up ahead, while Jae kept trying to get hold of the dog. Unbeknownst to her, Hae-na slipped past disguised as a statue. Jae now wandered into a deserted area. Someone descended from the sky behind her. It was Teacher Bao-chien. Teacher Bao-chien abandoned his usual amiable demeanor and questioned why the school's reigning popularity champion was here. Jae offered a flustered explanation that he was waiting here for a friend. But Bao-chien knew the truth, he was waiting for Seo-won. Exposed, Jae retorted defiantly, "What do you want?" Bodium picked up a stick and offered coldly, "How about some corporal punishment?" Jae was frozen in terror. She panicked and tried to flee. But in the blink of an eye, Bao-chien reappeared before him. Bao-chien demanded, "Now do you understand how bullying Seo-won felt?" On this day, Hae-na learned from colleagues that the graduation trip was scheduled for next week. She stood utterly stunned. The curse of turning into a dog must be lifted urgently. Thus she enlisted Seo-yu's assistance. Seo-yu then approached Seo-won with a request to bring his classmate's dog back for an overnight stay. They hatched a plan to wake Seo-won at 3 a.m. after he falls asleep. Then had Hae-na brush her lips against the drowsy Seo-won. You can break the curse of being turned into a dog. So Seo-won kept drinking energy drinks all night long, craving alertness until 凌晨3点. Thus, whenever drowsiness struck, he devised ways to rejuvenate himself. But all available methods to stay awake have been deployed. In the end, he fell asleep with eyes wide open. The plan ultimately did not succeed. Hae-na, transformed into human form, emerged wearing Seo-won's clothes. Yet she didn't know Seo-won had also risen when he was about to leave. Fortunately, Seo-won had just woken up, mistook Hae-na, who was trying to leave for Seo-won. Due to this failure, Hae-na had no choice but to confront the graduation trip she'd been avoiding. Unbelievably, she's going to stay with 2 other female teachers. Once the clock strikes 12, won't she be exposed as a dog? Are there any available rooms here? What? Nothing remained. Fortunately, Seo-won had prepared a doghouse for her outside. Hence, during the graduation trip, Hae-na appeared less preoccupied. But before midnight struck, she needed to stealthily leave the room and head to the doghouse. Yet her flustered movements were caught by Seo-won. Seo-won trailed after them. Yet at the bend of the path, Seo-won saw not Hae-na, but a dog. The next early morning, Hae-na emerged from the doghouse, then wiped the drool from the corner of her mouth, sneaking back into the room furtively. In the morning, they resumed their graduation trip. But Hae-na had tossed and turned all night, restless. Rested with closed eyes on a park bench. While Seo-won, who fancied her, deliberately stood behind to block sunlight for her. But this female teacher awakened Hae-na. Soon night descended once again. As the teacher on duty, Hae-na went to inspect. Have all the students returned to their dorm rooms? Little did they know 3 mischievous students had slipped out unnoticed. 3 schoolgirls revel in joyful adventures at the bustling local night market. Hae-na springs into action, launching an urgent search upon discovering their disappearance. Upon seeing this, Seo-won insisted on joining the expedition. At that precise moment, the schoolgirls spotted their teachers closing in. The mischievous girls scurried into hiding like startled sparrows. As a result, they were approaching noon and still hadn't located the female student. When Hae-na realized the time, she was utterly dumbfounded. She must flee swiftly to keep Seo-won from discovering her canine nature. Yet Seo-won stubbornly insists on remaining at her side. Hae-na could only say she needed to take a shit. Seo-won, who is also caring for Hae-na. Why isn't teacher in the doghouse? He noticed the teacher had gone to find the students. But in the end, the group of students were located. Seo-won wondered why Hae-na hadn't returned yet. Calls to her went unanswered. Thus, in his frantic state, he spotted the familiar little dog. But just then, Hae-na, who had transformed into a dog, was scooped up by an elderly woman. Afterwards, Hae-na witnessed with her own eyes Granny Lai tending the fire and preparing a meal. Bound, Hae-na feared she was about to be cooked by the old woman. Endowed with human-like intelligence, it gnawed through the tether and made its daring escape. Meanwhile, on this side, Seo-won was still searching for Hae-na. Hae-na, fleeing for her life, accidentally plunged into a ditch. Thus, the two missed each other. Fortunately, it was spotted by Seo-won, who was searching for the teacher. Seo-won wanted to see Hae-na, but his hook fell short. It wasn't until 6 o'clock that Hae-na reverted to her human form. Seo-won couldn't save the teacher either. Luckily, Seo-won, who had been searching all night, found it in the end. In the end, Hae-na was rescued and lay cradled in Seo-won's embrace. But Hae-na had injured her foot. Seo-won carried her on his back all the way back to the hotel. And this evening, Hae-na and Seo-won were out buying hats. Little did they know that Hae-na's ex-boyfriend had discovered her presence. The man knew the cursed secret that plagued his entire family. Back then, Hae-na's mother handed over a staggering 1 billion to the man, solely for men to plant a kiss on sister Hae-na. Because my daughter will turn into a dog at 12 o'clock. Requires a man to kiss his daughter to break the curse that transformed her into a dog. At this moment, the man pressed his lips to his dog girlfriend's muzzle with palpable reluctance. Then disdainfully stormed out. Therefore, after mother entered, witnessed my daughter breaking free from the curse in the very first moment. But unbelievably, Yuna's boyfriend actually uploaded the whole incident online. Spotted by this individual. He is Jiang Enhuan, dedicated to crafting trash content. At first, he refused to believe. Until he spotted a familiar face in the photo. Isn't he Cheng Seo-won? It was Cheng Seo-won who was bullied by him back in high school. This ignited his fascination with women who could morph into canines. And after Seo-won saved Hae-na last time, their relationship quickly intensified. After Hae-na saw her uncle transform into a dog, her remaining lifespan has dwindled to mere days. Unless the curse is broken, she'll remain a dog forever. Driven to desperation, she resolves to confess everything to Seo-won, hoping his kiss will break the ancient curse. But arriving at Seo-won's home, she witnesses an unexpected visitor. Jiang Enheng presses for information about Hae-na. Seo-won's face darkens at the sight of his former tormentor. Spotting hidden recording equipment, his anger ignites. He crushes the covert camera underfoot with savage satisfaction. Why can't you just live decently? He demands through gritted teeth. As Seo-won leaves, Jiang Enheng lets out a mocking dog bark. The canine sound triggers visceral flashbacks of schoolyard cruelty. Their confrontation had Hae-na anxiously checking the time. Midnight approached, her final chance slipping away. Hae-na flees to a deserted alley for the transformation. Unaware, Jiang Enheng follows like a shadow, tracking her to the secluded spot. He gapes at abandoned women's clothing on the ground and the retreating silhouette of a lone dog. Dawn finds Hae-na searching for her missing garments near Seo-won's home. Her desperate hunt with her sister yields nothing but panic. Unbeknownst to them, this day marks Seo-won's birthday. He saw Hae-na arriving with his nephew. Seo-won realized Hae-na was so breathtakingly beautiful. Stood transfixed, utterly captivated. So when making a birthday wish, he always utters his wishes while gazing upon Hae-na. On the other side, Jiang Enheng refused to give up and continued investigating Hae-na's family. Therefore, Jiang Enheng rushed to Hae-na's family members in an attempt to extract information about Hae-na. Just as Hae-na's father was on the verge of showing him the photo, it was snatched away by Hae-na's mother. Thus, Jiang Enheng once again departed in defeat. Yet, outside, he unexpectedly overheard the couple's conversation. Upon learning why their so-called little brother-in-law was actually eating dog food, Jiang Enheng therefore instructed his lackeys to deliberately take my pet to the veterinary clinic at the pet store where my brother-in-law works. Later, this individual secretly installed surveillance cameras in the pet store. That evening, the two of them rushed to Hae-na's school again, intending to question students about teacher Hae-na. But the vice principal found the two of them acting suspiciously. When questioned, Jiang Enheng spun around and bolted away. Of course, this scene was also witnessed by Seo-won. He learned from the female students that Jiang Enheng was inquiring about Hae-na's matter. Seo-won knew Jiang Enhuan's character. Hence, he sought out Jiang Enhuan. But threats only make Jiang Enheng find this matter more and more amusing. Meanwhile, Hae-na has only 10 days left. If the curse isn't lifted soon, you'll remain a dog forever. She intends to discuss this matter with Seo-won at the earliest opportunity. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation had been observed by Kang Eun-hyun, who was surveilling them. Having confirmed his suspicions, he rushed straight to Yuna's ex-boyfriend's place. Purchased a video documenting Yuna's metamorphosis into a canine for 3 million. Yuna's ex-boyfriend expressed gratitude for his munificent gesture. But it's puzzling why he wants to expose this. Jiang Enheng recalled Seo-won had threatened him. Never let the scene of your presence before him unfold. Meanwhile, Hae-na and Seo-won made plans to meet up. Seo-won spotted a suspicious figure lurking behind Hae-na's back. He recalled Jiang Enheng had been investigating the matter regarding Hae-na. Seo-won, fearing Hae-na was in danger, rushed over, shielded Hae-na with his own body. This kept Hae-na's heart racing throughout the entire night. She was deeply infatuated with Seo-won. But because she liked him too much, she dared not tell him about her ability to transform into a puppy. She feared Seo-won would be repelled by her secret. Yet she has only 1 week left before the curse becomes irreversible, a desperate countdown etched in the shadow of damnation. She would be condemned to remain a dog for eternity. And precisely at this critical juncture, someone dispatched to her the clothes lost when she transformed into a dog, now reclaimed through mysterious means. This scared Hae-na out of her wits. She confided the matter to her own family. Could it be that this person witnessed Hae-na's transformation into a canine? Regardless of their motives, they are determined to meet. Thus they arrived here. Is Jiang Eun the one notorious for churning out those trashy videos? He had already learned from Yuna's ex-boyfriend the curse afflicting the Hae-na family. He used this to blackmail Hae-na. Hae-na told him to go ahead and expose it since no one would believe it anyway. But Jiang Eun actually had video evidence of her sister transforming into a dog. Moreover, he knew Hae-na still hadn't lifted the curse. He must be determined to keep Seo-won from finding out. Cornered, Hae-na had no choice but to surrender. He wants Hae-na to arrive here by 11:50 tomorrow. This bastard knows Hae-na will transform into a dog at 12 o'clock sharp. Meanwhile, Hae-na's parents have also discovered this secret. The very next day, they stormed into Yuna's ex-boyfriend's residence. Trussed up the money-grabbing oath-breaker, who reneged on his promises. Then, through his phone, he uncovered Jiang Eun's whereabouts. At the same time, Kang Eun-hyun unexpectedly dropped an online teaser. Tonight's livestream will feature a female teacher from this school. The shocking truth behind turning into a dog at night. Seo-won noticed that this former campus bully was up to his old tricks again. Rushed to his house and punched him square in the face. Jiang Eun took advantage of his momentary speech to launch a counterattack. Then bolted away. Seo-won immediately sprinted in pursuit. But Seo-won had walked into their trap. At a dim alley corner, Jiang Eun's accomplice emerged with a snarling hound. Seo-won, deathly afraid of dogs, stood paralyzed with terror. Jiang Eun seized the opportunity to deliver a sneak attack from behind. His accomplice questioned why he treated Seo-won this way. Jiang Eun's response was, it infuriated him that those he bullied would dare fight back. Meanwhile, Hae-na's parents tracked down Jiang Eun's residence. Discovered this guy has a ton of materials on Hae-na. Enraged parents trashed the place. And had Yuna's boyfriend trick Kang Eun-hyun into returning. But when Kang Eun-hyun discovered his computer equipment had been destroyed, he was absolutely livid. Therefore, he video-called Hae-na and urged her to come immediately. And sent photos of the unconscious Seo-won to Hae-na. Hae-na rushed out frantically with worry. Meanwhile, Jiang Eun threatened his accomplice to guard Seo-won closely. While he had brought Hae-na to this place, the ultimate goal of this guy is to livestream Hae-na transforming into a dog. To earn him massive traffic and views. At this moment, Seo-won woke up. But remained paralyzed with fear, unable to escape from the canine. His former classmates mocked how someone his age could still fear dogs. Seo-won retorted, am I any different? Chained by Jiang Eun like a dog. Seo-won pointed out, dogs can't unleash their collars, but I can. The scene shifts back to Jiang Eun's side. Jiang Eun noticed a viewer asking if he would turn into a dog if he kissed Hae-na. Curiosity piqued, he wanted to give it a try. At that very moment, Seo-won arrived just in time. He exchanged blows with Jiang Eun. Jiang Eun was no longer the invincible school bully he once was. He was beaten by Seo-won like a whimpering dog. Meanwhile, Hae-na hastily fled the scene. For she could feel the canine transformation imminent. Dreaded being witnessed by others, least of all exposed to Seo-won's piercing gaze. Yet Seo-won's footsteps closed in relentlessly. Stay back! She cried out hoarsely. Terrified of the truth being unveiled to him. He will come to hate her in the future. Yet Seo-won had actually uncovered the secret through classmates. How could someone who loved Hae-na despise her for being a dog? As midnight struck, Hae-na morphed into a canine form. Seo-won showed no fear toward the transformed creature. Instead, he picked up the dog in his arms. At this moment, memories of beautiful moments shared with Hae-na flooded his mind. Then he kissed Hae-na. They who had just tasted the sweetness of each other's lips became utterly inseparable from the intoxicating union of their mouths. The mastermind behind turning the Hae-na family into dogs has finally emerged. Shockingly, it's none other than teacher Bao Qian. Astoundingly, he is actually a mountain deity. At this critical juncture, he manifests behind Jiang Eun, who seeks revenge against Seo-won. With divine authority, he thunders, Jiang Eun, know your boundaries and hold this madness. Jiang Eun swung his staff without hesitation. The staff clanked against an arm as hard as iron, sending it flying. Jiang Enheng stood frozen in terror. Instructor Bao Qian approached the petrified Jiang Enheng. He placed a hand on his head and slowly drew it down to his face. Jiang Enheng's memories were thus obliterated. At this moment, he awoke once more, transformed into a mindless fool. The mountain god was pierced through by the blade of imperial soldiers. Yet he defied the agony, his gaze thrust toward the other side. His beloved had been struck by a sword and collapsed towards the cliff's edge. Thus, the woman plunged down the mountainside. The wrathful mountain deity, showing no mercy, slaughtered the government soldiers. Yet the woman he loved slipped away from his grasp then and there, vanishing into the mist of memories. Only his weeping reverberated through the valley. It turned out that the woman's friend had discovered her family was implicated in treasonous conspiracy. About to be arrested, Seo-won from his previous life immediately took his maid Hae-na with him. "We must safely escort the young lady who is with child out of here." But the soldiers arrived swiftly. Immediately give chase up the mountain to encircle and annihilate them. To ensure the safety of her young mistress, Hae-na deliberately donned the young lady's garments. Successfully drew the attention of the officers and soldiers. The young lady managed to escape unscathed, but ended up tumbling down and slamming their head. Meanwhile, Hae-na remained encircled by the officers and soldiers. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Seo-won emerged. He swiftly and decisively dispatched the cluster of officers and soldiers. And the young lady was unveiled by the mountain deity. The mountain deity brought Chu-yin back and tended to her with meticulous care. The mountain god cherished Chu-yin with profound tenderness. With a single glance, he pierced through Chu-yin's reality. Her family was gone. And the child in her arms was gone. Thus, upon waking, Chu-yin was engulfed in excruciating agony. The mountain deity watched silently from afar, his gaze fixed upon her. Chu-yin stood at the edge of the cliff. The mountain god worriedly pulled her back. Chu-yin asked why he had saved her. The mountain god simply said he hated the smell of decaying corpses on the mountain. Hae-na watched her mistress like this, her own heart breaking. Until a puppy appeared outside their house. Only then was Chu-yin, who had long wished to die, saved. It turned out Chu-yin feared for her child in hell, yearning to join her child in the underworld. But the mountain god revealed to her. The child's soul had lingered by her mother's side since death, and was poured into the dying puppy. At first, Chu-yin refused to believe it, until the puppy showed up at her doorstep uninvited. She thus learned the man was none other than the mountain deity governing this realm. Hence, in the days to come, their relationship continued to grow stronger and closer. The mountain deity also spared Chu-yin from the chore of fetching water. All he needs to do is divert a stream to her doorstep. On this day, Chu-yin discovered the little dog was injured. Worried, she frantically searched every corner for the mountain deity, pleading for salvation. She ran all the way to the mountain temple, only to find nothing. Even after arriving at the waterfall, nothing was found there. Finally, she found the mountain deity at the cliff where she sought death. Without realizing, Chu-yin had become inseparable from the mountain deity. She always flashed sweet smiles at the mountain deity. The deity even held her hand while flying kites. The mountain deity himself remained unaware how profoundly intimate his relationship with Chu-yin had grown. This day they were to play a role-acting game. She would be the puppy's mother, the deity as the father. Chu-yin's cheeks flushed crimson upon hearing this. The deity, seeing her rosy face, wished to share in this scarlet glow. Chu-yin leaned in and kissed the mountain deity, imparting his face with the crimson blush of sunset clouds. That very day, the mountain deity had just wrapped the scarf around Chu-yin's neck for their seaside outing. When the troop of soldiers came storming up the mountain again, the mountain deity sensed their intrusion immediately. Thus began his furious clash with these mortal invaders. He withheld lethal force against the fragile humans. But then his gaze fell upon the scarf Chu-yin had left behind. Panic surged as he desperately searched for the hiding Chu-yin. To his horror, he found Seo-won's sword aimed directly at Chu-yin's throat. In that momentary lapse, a soldier's blade pierced through his divine form. When he turned around, Chu-yin was also pierced by the sword. From then on, he showed no mercy to the officers and slaughtered them all. But his beloved Chu-yin was gone forever. Thus, in the present era, He harbors bitter hatred towards the reincarnated Seo-won and Hae-na. On this day, Hae-na's uncle, transformed into a dog, was nearing the end of his life. But at that very moment, he suddenly transformed back into a human. This left everyone utterly stunned. The uncle not only regained his human form, but also his health. They found this extremely perplexing. Through researching their family's ancient texts, they discovered the curse had been cast by the mountain deity of that era. Hae-na encounters teacher Bao Qian at her doorstep. Bao Qian remarks how convenient it must be to date in human form. Hae-na freezes in confusion. Bao Qian coldly reveals he's the one who cast the curse. Hae-na panics and attempts to retreat home with feeble denials. Bao Qian insists on proving his claim. With a flick of his hand, he transforms Hae-na's sister into a dog. Hae-na stares dumbfounded. What manner of being is Bao Qian? He offers no answers, leaving Hae-na to unravel the chilling truth herself. He had appeared around them much earlier than they realized. As Bao Qian left, the elder sister instantly resumed her original state. But the elder sister seemed unable to recall what had just occurred. Hae-na now scoured through archival photographs with desperate urgency. In childhood images, she discovered Bao Qian had always lingered at her side. Hae-na confided this revelation to Seo-won without delay. Seo-won wondered with growing unease why he would cast such a curse. He confronted Bao Qian, demanding answers about the photographic evidence. Bao Qian uttered these words to him with chilling finality. Memories crystallized in Seo-won's mind with sudden, brutal clarity. During their youth, he had encountered the monstrous hound. The mastiff lunged at him but froze mid-air. Bao Qian had cast a spell to save him that moment. Seo-won couldn't comprehend his true motive, and grabbed his departing figure. Indeed, it was swift. Hae-na's uncle, newly restored to human form, reverted back to K9. This revelation drove Hae-na to confront Bao Qian. She demanded to know why he tormented their bloodline. Bao Qian uttered Hae-na's primordial name from 5 centuries past. The woman collapsed to her knees involuntarily at this revelation. Bao Qian forced her choice, lift the ancestral curse. Forget the memories of love with Seo-won after all. Seo-won, now aware of the full truth, confronts Bao Qian to resist. But powerless against Bao Qian, the mountain god immobilizes him completely. Seo-won and Hae-na vow to break their family's ancient curse. They believe even if memories of each other fade, fate will make them fall in love again when they meet. Just like their past life. When Hae-na was a maid and Seo-won a young master, they fell in love at first sight. Mountain god Chuin's blessings embraced their divinely ordained match. Until the day Chuin's husband was accused of rebellion and arrested. Seo-won led his family to flee their homeland. They escaped, but Seo-won was captured. At that time, Hae-na was already carrying Seo-won's child. Worried about Seo-won, she descended the mountain to search for him. From villagers, she learned Seo-won would be executed by beheading at dawn. Simultaneously, Seo-won heard from guards that Hae-na bore his heir. Friends risked their lives to break him out of his cell. But Hae-na moved faster than liberation. She knelt, pleading with the magistrate to spare Seo-won. This betrayal ignited the mountain god's eternal wrath. Otherwise his beloved Chuin wouldn't have perished. The next day, Hae-na and Seo-won brushed past each other. They had forgotten they had once loved each other. But at this moment, Seo-won looked back at Hae-na. His girlfriend had forgotten her own boyfriend. Seo-won nervously pulled out mountain deity Bao Qian to confront him. Why was it Hae-na who lost her memories instead of him? Yet this was exactly the effect Bao Qian had aimed for. Didn't you say you could start over even with memory loss? Once, they had been so deeply in love. Seo-won suddenly remembered their pre-amnesia promise. He would rush to Hae-na without a moment's hesitation. Hae-na had said buying her sweets would be enough. This was Seo-won taking the initiative to pursue her. So when he saw Hae-na enter the office, he offered her the prepared sweets. But things don't always go as planned. Hae-na, already full, passed the sweets to a colleague. Seeing this, Seo-won didn't give up. He tidied up Hae-na's desk for her again. To his surprise, Hae-na actually refused his kindness. This reminded Seo-won of a time when their roles were reversed. Back then, he had been just the same. Yet Hae-na had boldly invited him to dinner regardless. Now he was mirroring her actions. However, upon learning it was a one-on-one dinner between them, Hae-na decisively declined the invitation. Returning to his seat, Seo-won wondered if he hadn't done well enough. He once again emulated the manner in which Hae-na had previously sought to ingratiate herself with him. Yet Hae-na still didn't respond, awkwardly averting instead. This plunged Seo-won into a state of deep despondency. But upon seeing Hae-na's sweet smile, Seo-won was instantly filled with renewed vigor. At this moment he noticed Hae-na shivering with cold. He held out the hand warmer to her. After Hae-na took it, he couldn't resist the urge to tell Hae-na about her memory loss. But right at that moment, Mr. Bao Qian swooped in to intercept. Seo-won thus missed his golden opportunity. Meanwhile, Hae-na and Seo-won chose to erase each other's memories. The curse that had transformed Hae-na's family into dogs had also been lifted. As a result, Hae-na's uncle had once again reverted back to his human form from that of a dog. The entire family was overjoyed upon hearing the news. It becomes evident that those around Hae-na had their memories erased by the mountain deity as well. Uncle Hae-na had transformed into a human once before, but they had all forgotten. To their eyes, this was still the inaugural metamorphosis. Their excitement was palpable, as if witnessing primal magic reborn. Simultaneously, Hae-na discovers a mysterious memo in the room. The day the Book Sea couple embarked on their West Sea journey. She realizes it's her own handwriting. But she couldn't recall what it meant. Meanwhile, Seo-won discovered his nephew had also lost his memory. The nephew has no recollection of Hae-na transforming into Coco. Seo-won discovers daunting challenges in retrieving Hae-na. Yet one person retains crystal clear memories. During the major cleanup that day, Hae-na accidentally tripped and fell. Seo-won swiftly caught Hae-na, preventing her from getting injured. This move crushed the hearts of female students who had a crush on Seo-won, and shattered the heart of Ms. Kaya. But the reincarnated Chu-ing turned to Seo-yu and said, "If they date, someone will find out." At this moment, Seo-won offered Hae-na sweet treats once again. Bao Qian intentionally made his way over to disrupt them. As Seo-won came downstairs, he was greeted by the sight of their intimate moment. Fuming with anger, Seo-won dragged Hae-na out of the room. He summoned the courage to confess his feelings to Hae-na. But Hae-na replied without hesitation that she already had someone in her heart. This left Seo-won deeply wounded. Then, he witnessed Hae-na and Bao Qian's intimate display. Seo-won truly could bear it no longer. Trying to separate the loving couple yet still wanting to date Hae-na. Seo-won's fury erupted into a clenched fist, striking straight at Bao Qian. But Hae-na ran over just in time to stop him. As a result, Seo-won, who was pushed aside, was also cut by the glass shards. He rose without uttering a word. Someone steps outside and weeps alone. But just then, Hae-na emerged to console him. "If we say he's full of hot air, does that mean we're giving up on her? Didn't we swear to charge forward and reclaim her?" Seo-won nodded, fighting back tears. But all of this was merely his illusion. The genuine Hae-na was applying medication to Bao Qian. Meanwhile, to everyone's astonishment, Bao Qian seized the moment to confess his feelings to Hae-na, asking if she wants to date him. Seo-won believed that those around him had all fallen victim to the mountain deity, expunged every trace of his love with Hae-na. But his nephew told him that Jie said he was dating Hae-na. This left Seo-won utterly astounded. The very next day, they asked Jie whether she had retained her memories. As it turns out, in this reincarnated life, Chu-ing is accompanied by divine power. She marveled at why the mountain deity Bao Qian would subject them to such treatment. Seo-won remained silent, his answer hanging in the air between them. They simply stated it's a private matter between them and Bao Qian, not something they can elaborate on. How can Seo-won, a mere mortal, dare contend with the mountain deity? He overheard the students teasingly ask Hae-na if she was dating Bao Qian. This left Seo-won, desperate to win back Hae-na, utterly helpless. He had no strength left to rush toward Hae-na. At this moment, Hae-na informed him she had left her teacup behind. Seo-won took the teacup but muttered to himself. On this day, Jia, endowed with divine powers, questioned Bao Qian. Since all mortals must meet their end, why obsessively cling to the past that refuses to release its grip? Ask him who has he been blaming all along. Jia, who knew of her connection to him from a past life. Ask him how he died. Did they kill her? Bao Qian, upon hearing this, offered no reply to her. Jia managed to track down the Fox Principal, the mountain deity's trusted lieutenant. I defeated him through playing the game. Only then did the Fox Principal reveal to her which mountain she had perished upon. Meanwhile, regarding Bao Qian's previous confession, Hae-na agreed to take things slow and see how things develop. That evening, they first watched a movie. Seo-won secretly followed behind to prevent them from getting too intimate. Constantly worried Bao Qian might make inappropriate moves. He saw Hae-na crying during the film. Feeling deeply aggrieved, he couldn't comfort her. Hae-na then noticed Seo-won was also in the cinema. But Bao Qian deliberately grabbed Hae-na's hand and left. He escorted Hae-na home and saw her sister. Hae-na wondered how Bao Qian knew her sister. At home, she asked Yuna if she'd met Bao Qian. Yuna answered she hadn't. This puzzled Hae-na, but she didn't dwell on it. Next evening after work, she saw on Seo-won's calendar the same West Coast itinerary as hers. She wanted to know the reason. Seo-won asked if she wanted to go together. Hae-na didn't respond. Instead drawn to the dog charm on Seo-won's back. Finding it adorably familiar somehow. Seo-won said it was from someone he loved. Who had forgotten him? He asked Hae-na if his former lover could love him again. That night, Hae-na witnessed her sister's sweet moments with the boyfriend. A strange vision abruptly surfaced in her mind. She and Seo-won had once shared such tenderness too. Meanwhile, Jia arrived at the mountain the principal had mentioned. She sought answers about her previous life's demise. But two tagalongs significantly slowed her pace. During rest, she revealed their memory loss to Seo-won. Thus Hae-na soon received Seo-won's call midday. Seo-won urgently summoned Hae-na to his home. Upon arrival, Seo-won stood before her. Only then did Seo-won realize Jia had disclosed truths to Seo-won. Seo-won intended to assist him. Memory-deprived Hae-na finally learned Seo-won was Seo-won's uncle. Hae-na turned to leave immediately. But Seo-won stopped her retreat. Meanwhile, Jia had reached the mountain peak. Just as she prepared to depart, her divine powers unveiled her past life's death scene. Back at the house, Seo-won prepared food for Hae-na. The scene struck Hae-na with deja vu. As the words fell, Seo-won leaned in and kissed her. Just like the old days. They loved each other so deeply. But Hae-na, who was being kissed, pushed him away and hurriedly fled through the door. Today, Hae-na saw this photo in the Fox Principal's office. It was an intimate picture of her with Seo-won before her amnesia. Hae-na seemed to regain some memories. Discovered by the current mountain deity Bao Qian before her. Bao Qian told her she had chosen to forget Seo-won herself. Then broke the family curse. She was the one who cruelly abandoned Seo-won. Hearing this, Hae-na seemed to realize something. She demanded Bao Qian return her memories. Was it the memory of her pushing her young mistress off the cliff in their past life being returned? Current Hae-na naturally didn't remember his words. But for the mountain deity, that scene remains vivid as if it were yesterday. He hated that those who killed his beloved could reunite. That even after losing memories of each other, they could still rediscover them. The mountain deity would show no mercy, he would make both of them perish. Meanwhile, Hae-na found Seo-won. She blamed herself for recovering Seo-won too late, unaware that their calamity was fast approaching. That day, Hae-na and Seo-won brought their students to the mountains for photography. They accidentally stumbled into the abandoned temple of the mountain deity, only to discover something eerie about this place. And at that very moment, a white-clothed spirit materialized, freezing everyone's blood. Panic screams erupted as the group scattered wildly. The truth, the Fox Principal's trickery at work. Meanwhile, Seo-won found Hae-na. His breath-cut fresh wounds marred her skin. Hae-na met his anxious gaze. Fragments of memory suddenly flooded her consciousness. Chewing, her divine-powered past incarnation. Visionary flashes revealed earth-shattering truths. Bao Qian ascended the slope with snarling hounds. The beast's primal instincts locked onto Hae-na and Seo-won. Seo-won's canine phobia became his Achilles heel. Yet through trembling limbs, he shielded Hae-na. Simultaneously, Chewing raced toward the cliff's edge. Bao Qian's iron grip arrested her midway. Her regained past life memories held explosive revelations. In bygone days, the mountain deity always rushed to this precipice when she neared. Reincarnated Chewing prepared to shatter centuries of lies, to unravel the ancient web of misunderstandings. The shocking truth, past life Hae-na schemed to safeguard Seo-won using clues about Chewing's whereabouts. But then she abruptly claimed to know nothing. With a flash of cunning, she declared she'd lure Chewing over. After that, she returned to the mountain determined to take the young lady and flee. Unbeknownst to them, the soldiers had stealthily followed. By the time she located the young mistress, government soldiers had already closed in on them. Just as the young lady was about to meet her demise, Seo-won, the escaped convict, broke through the shadows. He rescued Hae-na and Chewing, took the military officer commander hostage. Then they fled to the edge of the cliff. Due to Seo-won's overwhelming martial might, the officers and soldiers resorted to unleashing a barrage of arrows. Thus he was injured while shielding the young lady from the arrow. Meanwhile, the young woman actually snatched the knife from the man's hand and plunged it into her own body. Why on earth would she do such a thing? So it turns out that only through her death could she safeguard the unborn child in her mate's womb. But the scene was misunderstood by the mountain deity who had rushed over. The truth revealed mountain deity shed bitter tears. Only now do we understand Chewing had willingly leapt off the cliff that day. With misconceptions cleared, Seo-won and Hae-na were ultimately rescued. The hunting hound disintegrated into ashes and vanished. Meanwhile, the scene of Seo-won shielding Hae-na triggered a flood of long-lost memories rushing back to Hae-na. All the scenes of their love came flooding back. Hae-na told Seo-won she'd regained her memories, and embraced Seo-won with overwhelming emotion. Seo-won was equally moved upon hearing this. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The couple still maintained clandestine romance at school. They thought their act was flawless and unnoticed. Little did they know everyone knew except them. Ms. Chen can't bear to watch. She's utterly green with envy. Meanwhile, all couples in this drama found happiness. Hae-na's sister finally married her childhood sweetheart Yuza. Their parents rolled eyes at their public displays of affection. And Hae-na's uncle, who reverted from a dog back to a human after 18 years, astonishingly ended up with teacher In. Though he couldn't shake off canine habits, often devouring food like a starved hound. This time, he wolfed down too fast and choked. His agonized expression spoke volumes. Fortunately, teacher In saved him with Heimlich maneuver. Meanwhile, Xiao-yu constantly dotes on his crush Jia. But Jia, with memories of past lives, cares only about mountain deity Baoqian's year-long disappearance. It turned out Baoqian had distanced himself from the bustling world after realizing his misunderstanding of Seo-won and Hae-na. He withdrew completely from the clamorous mortal realm. Yet Jia ultimately tracked him down, for she sensed the unresolved regrets still haunting his heart. 5 centuries ago, Chewing had planned a seaside excursion with the mountain deity, only to meet her demise at the hands of imperial soldiers. Now reborn with intact memories, she fulfilled this longing with Baoqian. Together they released glowing calming lanterns, their ascent symbolizing vanished karmic entanglements from past lives. Hae-na and Seo-won now basked in honeyed days of newfound love, often displaying their affection unabashedly even in daylight's fullness.